Since the beginning of our nation, it's been agreed upon that there should be a separation between church and state. But that concept's being challenged now, challenged by Christians, right-wing Christians, who believe that Christianity should dominate the political structure of our country. Hi, I'm David Thompson. So, is this a real thing? Do people really want this? And the answer, of course, is yes. Now, before we get started, I want to read a little introduction here. The separation of church and state in the United States is a concept derived from the First Amendment to the Constitution, specifically the Establishment Clause. It signifies a principle that government should not establish an official religion or favor one religion over another, nor should it interfere with the free exercise of religion. Okay, we can all agree with that, I think. But apparently that's not what a lot of folks believe. Now, there are two congresswomen that I'm going to talk about today, and I've mentioned them in the past. One is Representative Lauren Boebert, and the other Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, these two people are Christian nationalists, although Lauren Boebert claims she's not. She checks every box that pretty much proves that she is. But that's a rabbit hole we're not going down today. Now, I found an article, and I'm going to read some excerpts from it. It says, U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert's pattern of pushing for a religious takeover of America, spreading falsehoods about the 2020 presidential election, and warning of an impending judgment day amounts to Christian nationalism, religious, political, and social experts say. So who are Christian nationalists, first of all? Well, they're a grouping of people from nearly every denomination that you can think of. They don't necessarily have to be right-wing evangelicals. More and more people would identify as a Christian nationalist, although they don't consider themselves evangelical or Pentecostal. So how did these people all get connected under the banner of Christian nationalism? Well, they were already there, but Donald Trump helped solidify their coalition. He brought them into the MAGA family. Keep in mind, Donald Trump believes some of the same things they do. A lot of conspiracy theories. The 2020 election, it was stolen from him. COVID-19 was fake. You didn't need a vaccine. Go down a list of things that Donald Trump didn't like, right-wing conservative people didn't like, Christian nationalists didn't like. LGBTQ people, of course, he hates them. Right-wing nationalist Christians hate them. Immigrants. Democrats. Let's put Democrats on the list because I was told that if you're a Democrat, you're a demon. I was told that in my own town. Crazy, but this is what they believe. A lot of it is conspiracy theory. So it all fits into this package, Christian nationalism, MAGA. It's a package deal. At their core, Christian nationalists believe that America holds a unique and divinely ordained purpose, said Andrew Whitehead, an assistant professor of sociology at the University of Indianapolis. Boebert said she was tired of this separation of church and state junk and claimed that God anointed Donald Trump to the presidency. Here we go. Here we go. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is how it all connects. Donald Trump is not a professed Christian. He has not professed it. He pretty much has them in the palm of his hand, especially the right-wing evangelical people that support him. So he's used them in a political sense. But these people truly believe that God anointed Donald Trump to be president. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, another Christian nationalist, said this, "We need to be the party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian, and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists." Her self-avowal of Christian nationalism follows the claim that Christian nationalism is nothing to be afraid of, and that the movement will solve school shootings and sexual immorality in America. Okay, here we go. Okay, what we're trying to say here is that if you put Christians in charge, if they are in charge and they have power within the government, they can then solve all these problems through Christian principles and values. Now, granted, Jesus Christ can do a lot of things. He can solve these issues, but not within the government, not as a Christian nationalist. Jesus doesn't walk around wearing his Christian nationalist t-shirt. In fact, he has nothing to do with these people when it comes to wanting to be in a political party. Jesus was never in a political party, and I didn't read anything in Scripture that said he was. But it goes on to say here, she is not alone in doing so. Greene's embrace of Christian nationalism follows closely after troubling remarks from Colorado Republican Lauren Boebert. The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church, she said at a church 2 days before her primary election and victory in late June. And again, she goes on to say, I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk. And as CNN has reported, public opinion polling shows the support of Christian nationalism is growing among Christians. That's scary in itself. Now, as a Christian, I do not support it at all. Zero. Noche. Zero. So, what does the Bible say about the separation of church and state? Before we move on, before I comment on this crazy talk, the Bible does not articulate a full-blown doctrine of separation of church and state, yet its seeds are clearly present. Jesus at least foreshadowed the concept when he said, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." That's in Matthew 22:21. Jesus' behavior was consistent with his words. He never took a coin from Caesar or sought the help of Herod in his ministry and mission. Herod being the king of Israel, the king of the Jews at that time. And that tells me a lot. See, if Jesus wanted us to be political, he would have been political. But he's our example. But we change that all today, and we go to Scripture and we pull stuff out. A 2019 Pew Research survey said that nearly 2/3 of Americans say churches and other houses of worship should keep out of political matters, while 36% say they should express their views on day-to-day social and political questions. And 3/4 of the public expresses the view that churches should not come out in favor of a candidate over another during elections. Now, that was a 2019 survey. Now, there might be newer ones. I couldn't find one. But the point is, I don't think that's changed a lot. What I believe has changed is that Christian nationalism is growing amongst all denominations in the United States. That's frightening. Now, in the Old Testament, the church and state were less separated than they are today. Israel began as a theocracy, a nation under God and governed by prophets like Moses. That changed. They had kings later because the Israelites wanted a king. It didn't work out well for them, but that's what happened. Things deteriorated. But we're not a theocracy. We didn't start out as a theocracy, nor does anybody that I know want a theocracy. Unfortunately, more and more right-wing people, although they don't call it a theocracy, are leaning in that direction. Once you want to take control of government as a Christian, you're automatically making it a theocracy. You're trying to put your values onto other people, even if those values are good values. Here in America, once you start pushing values on people, you start destroying the freedoms we have. So this brings me to my final question. Where does Donald Trump stand? Is he a Christian nationalist? I'm going to answer that question right now. The answer is no. He's just an opportunist. He's used Christian nationalism as a power base. He incorporated it into MAGA, like I mentioned before. Now, it's starting to get some shaky reviews because so many things he's done has started to tear apart his own coalition. That's another story, another rabbit hole, maybe for another day. But remember, Donald Trump wants the same thing the Christian nationalists do. He wants to control the 7 mountains. And of course, we know that there's a 7-mountain mandate. Once again, that's a long story, a rabbit hole. That goes back many years. Make no mistake, Christian nationalism has been in the works for decades. They waited for a day like this and for a leader such as this. So this 7-mountain mandate is not new. It's old news. It's been brought back with lipstick on it so that it looks better. What is the 7-mountain mandate? That's where Christians take over all 7 mountains in our country. Those mountains are religion, family, education, government, media, arts and entertainment, and business. Wow. That's about everything, right? Now, I've said this in other videos. Can you imagine a person like Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene being in control of you, telling you what you need to do, what you can and can't do? See, this is the bottom line with too many people in Christian nationalism. They want to control what you do. They want to make it legal to do certain things they want and illegal to do the rest. When I say illegal, not frowned upon, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have sex out of marriage. No, they would try to make it a law that you can't have sex out of marriage. Now, whether you think that's right or wrong is not my point here. The point is that when you try to make a law for morality, it doesn't work. You have rebellion. Rebellion. But these people want to control. And that's what it's down to. That's why they have to get rid of the separation of church and state clause. They try to make it seem like it doesn't matter. Like Lauren Boebert said, that's junk. You see, this all started with Thomas Jefferson. He had a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in 1802. He used a metaphor and said a wall of separation between church and state. He used that phrase. That was then later used to develop the First Amendment, okay, to make sure that there was a separation, that we didn't place one religion over everyone else. But you see, Christians want to do that. Now, in this country, it's diverse. Now, I know many Christians hate it to hear that there's Muslims here or Hindus here or whatever. I know they hate it. They don't want them here. But this is a diverse country. It was designed to be that way. That's why you can't have a theocracy. Because in Israel, they could have a theocracy, although it failed, and they wanted a king. They had a theocracy because it was all the like-minded people. They were all Jews. We're not. You can't then just say everybody has to obey our Christian rules, whether you're a Christian or not. You can't do that. I know it bothers people. I know it irks people. They want to stop and they want to get rid of everybody, which is what Donald Trump's trying to do. That's why Donald Trump wanted to be able to deport anybody. That's why he wants to be able to control who stays and who goes, because he wants to control those people that don't agree with him, the opposition. He wants to be able to threaten them. He wants to be able to remove them from the country. That can be you or me. So Christian nationalism is dangerous. The freedoms that we have are based upon the fact that we don't have a religion guiding us and telling us what to do, not in our government. That's between you and God, not between you and your government and God. Placing the government in between is never a good idea, because the government's power will be used, let me restate that, will be used against you. It always is. More than ever, we resemble an authoritarian state. The security services of our country have surveillance everywhere, AI facial recognition. They know everything about us. They have groups and agencies that can come and take you away in the middle of the night, make you disappear forever. This will be used by these Christian nationalists to control the narrative, to control the country, to control you. As a Christian, I'm totally against all this. I believe in free will, and that's a whole nother argument, another rabbit hole. But the truth is that everybody needs to deal with their God directly. Whether they believe in him or not, they will deal with God. But we cannot force our values on people. We cannot legislate against other people's values. We just have to make sure that it's fair and equitable and that it's safe for everyone. I hope that you understand this. I hope this kind of cleared up the separation of church and state. The closer we get to making sure there's never a breach in that, the closer we make sure that there's always a separation of church and state, keeps us all safe. Listen, I'm glad you watched me today. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. Don't forget, we have a sister channel, Nights Around a Fire. Me, Ashley Hamilton, and Sue Taylor talk about mysteries, legends, and myths. You'll love the channel. I have a link in the description box. Go watch it. And then I'll see you tomorrow right here on the best channel for news, information, analysis, and commentary, The David Tomsic Show. God bless you.